Okay, so we're going to look at the next requirement for multi-story stack wet vent. When we have stack wet vents or wet vented soil or waste stack, we're only permitted to have 4 fixed units per story above the first story. So if these were kitchen sinks, we'll go with 1.5 inch, 1.5 fixed units each. We don't include the load of the lowest fixture or fixtures that are symmetrically connected, but we include the load of everything else that is draining into the soil or waste stack. And like this requirement says, the load is the same throughout the wet vent. So at any point on this wet vent down to the lowest T, we would say for the purposes of sizing that we have 6 fixed units draining into the wet vent, with these last 3 fixed units from the lowest kitchen sinks draining into the branch that serves the rest of the system. So the lowest story not included, the lowest fitting not included, and we're not permitted to have more than 4 fixed units draining into the wet vented stack per story above the first story. So they're limiting how much load we allow into the stack at higher elevations. Again, and what the code is trying to limit is the likelihood of the stack having too much load entering it and maybe plugging off the stack and not permitting that free flow of air. Again, with wet vents, what we're trying to do is accommodate both the draining and the venting of fixtures. So it kind of makes sense that we're limiting how many fixed units are permitted above the first story. By the way, not serving water closets, on table 2581, we'd be looking down this column here, no water closet being served. We said we had 6 fixed units draining into the stack. We don't include the lowest most fitting. So we look for a number that is 6 or greater down the list, but first we find is this category for 12. Look to the left and the size of our wet vent will be 3 inches. So this wet vent would be 3 inch in size, from its connection to the stack vent, minimum, all the way down through the remainder of the system.